Good evening. It is Wednesday, July 26th, 2023, and coming to you from Studio 1A at Lonely Tree Media headquarters in Yakima, Washington. This is the Best Lamm Sports Show. We got extra music.
Tons of it.
It's good. I like this song. I'm glad. And then we got the "oh" in there because that's important.
That's essential stuff.
I am your host, David Lamm. With me is my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
Hello, Parker.
Wow.
As usual.
Come to expect it now. So we're on YouTube. If you're listening to us live, then you know this. But we're on YouTube. You can catch the episodes on there also, the recording. We're on Twitter, at Lamm Sports. We're on Facebook under the Best Lamm Sports Show. You can send us an email, lammsports@gmail.com. And please check out our webpage, which is just lammsports.com. You can catch the past shows, links to the last year's worth. I think it's almost the whole year's worth. It's like 30-something that it holds. And the current trivia question is on lammsports.com. We have stuff to talk about. Justin Herbert, Saquon Barkley, Jaylen Brown all have new contracts. We'll talk about that a little bit. Formula One was in Hungary and heads to Spa in Belgium this weekend. And rain is in the forecast. The U.S. women's national soccer team is in action tonight in the Women's World Cup in Game 2 of pool play. They just started against the Netherlands. There's 2.5 minutes in, and it's scoreless. And then golf's last major concluded in jolly old England. But we are going to start with a trivia question because we're going to get that out of the way. Are you excited about the trivia question? You ready? You ready?
I'm always ready for the trivia question.
It's football. Okay?
Yay.
There are, this is the Stave & Stone trivia question, by the way. There are 7 current NFL quarterbacks in the top 50 on the all-time passing yardage list. How many of those guys can you name? 7 current NFL quarterbacks are in the top 50.
Not all starters. Current is the optimal phrasing.
They're current NFL quarterbacks on a current
Joe
roster.
Flacco is going to be in there, some crap like that.
There are 7 of them currently in the top 50. We want to know how many you can name, and we'll give you the answer at the end of the show. But I think tonight we're going to actually start with NBA. The first story, sort of NBA. Bronny James, the eldest son of LeBron James, suffered a cardiac arrest while practicing at USC, where he'll be a freshman this upcoming season. He was taken to the hospital, placed in ICU. He's now in stable conditions, been released from intensive care. This is a relatively major news story, considering the hype behind Bronny and what we've seen in the past from people who have cardiac issues playing sports. Am I wrong?
No, not wrong at all. That's I'm curious to know more about this because he's supposed to be like, if you ask anybody who's really big into basketball, Bryce James is the one who's going to be really good. Bronny's just Bron Jr. That's all it is. It's just a fun name.
Right.
What I'm curious to know about the fallout of this is that is he going to continue to play? Because
right.
I don't know if I'd let him. Like, you gotta know more about the details. Like, was he running laps? Was he being made to run the stairs at the football stadium?
Right.
Like things like that. Like, or was it heat related? But if it's like, okay, you got a bad valve in there somewhere. Like, yeah, you probably should not be playing basketball.
Right.
But even bigger than that, could USC even let him leave? Because they're selling season tickets based on his presence.
Oh, sure.
And the possible presence of LeBron James.
I don't think possible should even be a word. He's going to be at some of those games.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but yeah, some of them.
So you can't let him go. Not to like cloud, a difficult thing happening to him, but it's the first thing that popped into my head was my first thought was, oh, he shouldn't play anymore. I was like, yeah, but he can't leave.
Right. It's a big
This is a good deal.
This is a big story, really. I mean, it's not. I mean, I get it. It's not like a super gigantic, thing. And if this is just a one-time thing and it's heat exhaustion that caused it, you know what I mean? Okay, well, then you did something wrong, obviously, right? Somebody did something wrong. Not enough water, not enough rest, whatever. If it is physical, if it's a heart problem or something, then that's a big issue. And will become a bigger story, but we need to know more. You're right. So
Yeah.
I thought we better mention that. So
Real
there's
quick,
that. Yeah.
I need clarification on something.
Yeah.
The trivia question. You're
Okay.
talking
Go.
about passing yardage, right?
Passing yardage. Yep.
Okay.
All-time
My
passing yardage list.
top 50.
Yeah, inside the top 50.
That's a lot of people.
There are
There's got to be more than 7.
There's 7 current NFL quarterbacks in there.
There's got to be more than 7.
Okay, and you think that, right? But
yeah.
Hold on. Let me just give you some clarification so you can feel better about the world. Although maybe I can't because nothing wants to pop up now. The guy who's at 50 on the list,
yeah,
has 31,304 career passing yards. So 31,000 yards is a lot. If you threw 3,000 yards a year, that's 10 years worth of throwing. I mean, that's 10 consistent 3,000 yards.
You don't even have to be that. I mean, you have to be decent, but more specifically, you have to have longevity. You have to do it for a while.
Super important.
That's the biggest thing. Being a relative starter for 10 years.
Right.
Even if you're not anymore.
And the guy at number 1 has 89,000 yards. So
yeah, I know who number 1 is.
There's a gigantic jump in and around
50,000 yard jump between.
Yeah, in and around 10,
and
11. number 9, number 8. Those guys are it's a different level. But anyway, yeah, there's only 7 current NFL players in there.
Okay.
Well, that's not true. Now that I'm looking at this, I think there's 8. I think there's 8.
Dun dun dun. Like I'm writing down like
8.
all of like the kind of older NFL not that we're going to talk about this too much right now, but I'm writing down all these older NFL quarterbacks.
Sure.
I'm at like 12 already, and I'm like, any one of these guys could be up there.
I guess so. Now that there's somebody who ever did this research didn't do it thoroughly. There's actually 9. Okay, there's 9. There's actually 9, but I'm gonna.
Okay, so I still have a couple too many then.
Right. Yeah, you still have a couple too many.
I'll have to guess based on of my list.
I think when they made this, or when they were deciding this, no, because it goes through 23. They've listed through 23. I don't know, but I think that some of these guys hadn't played as much, or were off for a season, for whatever reason, so weren't necessarily current. Anyway, okay. Let's just keep it with the original question, but that's okay.
That works.
There may be a couple extra that we can throw in there. So, yeah, I think that's probably what it is that there's a couple of guys on here that were hurt and didn't play a whole season, so they weren't currently maybe active on the roster. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. All right, let's do this. Where were we? Talking about the NBA. Jaylen Brown. Boston Celtics have made Jaylen Brown the richest man in NBA history by signing him to a 5-year Supermax contract extension worth up to $303.7 million. Boston has reached the playoffs in each of Brown's 7 NBA seasons, including the finals in 2022 and 3 Eastern Conference Finals trips. He was the number 3 overall pick in the 2016 NBA draft out of Cal Berkeley. They also can sign another. The teams are allowed 2 Supermax contracts, and I think the collective bargaining agreement is trying to get 3. But the Supermax contract, they're going to have 2 guys who are going to be Supermax guys. How do you afford anybody else? Is my question. Because
you just break the cap and deal with it.
A Supermax guy is literally 30% of your salary cap. One Supermax guy. So. Yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, if you had 2, that's 60% of your salary, right? And the rest of everybody else is just kind of, you have to break it if you're going to have that many guys. But in the history of the NBA, there's only been 13 of these guys that have signed Supermax contracts.
That's a trivia question for a different day.
It could be, except we were going to talk about it today.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, we can talk about something else later. But my first question was this. So, a regular maximum contract is 5 years, 25% of the salary cap. A Supermax contract can only be offered to someone who's been in the league 7 years or more and was an all-NBA team, I think they were on an all-NBA team either the year before or 2 years before that for the 2 years prior to last year, which doesn't make any sense because the all-NBA team is voted on by who? I don't know. That's arbitrary to me.
The all-NBA team was it players and coaches, right?
Yeah, I think that's an arbitrary. That's not a set. you did something and this is why you're all NBA. It's like, oh well, we think he's the best. That enables you to have a supermax
Yeah,
contract.
yeah, but I mean, to not to diminish what all NBA means, like
Well,
very few, a couple people get voted in there out of respect,
right,
but most of the people, 95% of the people, earned it that season.
sure. To be fair, LeBron James doesn't have a supermax contract.
Well,
You
yeah,
know,
he could. He doesn't need it.
he could, but yeah, he doesn't need it. But I mean, he doesn't have one, which is kind of weird to me, I guess.
If there's one thing I'll say about LeBron James, and all my hating on him, he does never really seem to like make like big demands for getting paid. Like he definitely makes a lot of money, and he's got a $1 billion lifetime contract with Nike. So
Right.
like he's not hurting for anything, but he's never like I need a max contract. Like he's
Right.
never been that way.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Um,
which is great. Hey, Tom Brady doesn't do it either.
and to just for reference, since he's now the highest paid player in NBA history, who was the previous highest paid player in NBA history?
The previous
Yeah.
highest paid player
Until he
when
signed this contract, somebody else had the most money.
when
ever.
when did they sign theirs?
I didn't write that down.
Oh, I'm gonna go with Giannis.
It's Nikola Jokic.
Oh, nice, good for him.
Yeah, who is a two-time NBA MVP, and I'm just saying,
And NBA champion.
and an NBA champion. Jaylen Brown is none of those things.
Jaylen Brown has never won an Eastern Conference Finals.
There you. Well, yeah, they
Well,
went.
that's
to
not
one
true.
finals.
They won. Yeah, they won one.
Yeah, they won
I said
one out
that
of
and I
three.
was like, wait a minute.
They won one out
like
of three. So
wait, who'd they lose to last year?
um,
Why am I not able to think of this?
who'd they play in the West? So 2022, right?
Wasn't the Warriors again? Was it?
Probably.
Huh.
Yeah, Warriors. They lost the Warriors in 6.
Yeah, they lost to a hobbled
Remember,
Warriors.
they
team.
won the first 2 games and then lost 4.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
So at least he's got an Eastern Conference Finals trophy.
Yeah, so he's got something. But I
They
mean,
had to pay him because you lost Marcus Smart, so you need to secure down your next best defender.
Sure. Okay. All right. So there are 13 NBA players that have signed a supermax contract in the history of the NBA, and they are, by the way, Russell Westbrook, when he was at Oklahoma City. I think he's in the last year of his supermax contract. Steph Curry, Giannis, Luka Doncic, Bradley Beal.
I was gonna say Luca instead of Giannis, but I couldn't remember who the most recent person was. But I know Luca signed it fairly recently.
Yep. Karl Anthony Towns, Damian Lillard, Devin Booker, Joel Embiid, John Wall, and Rudy Gobert. And
Nice.
Rudy Gobert is an interesting pick in that his career scoring average is about 14 points a game.
Well, you picked him for defense.
I was gonna say he's a 3-time All NBA defensive player or defensive player of the year. So yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he does the thing he does well.
Right. So, but yeah, those are the guys who have signed supermax contracts. 3 or 4 of those guys are on the last year of their contracts. But yeah, because Russell Westbrook isn't signing another one.
Oh no.
No. So anyway, that's interesting. And Damian Lillard signing one is causing all kinds of grief. Has been for Portland for a long time. So there's a lot of money you're paying to a guy, for a team that's not willing to just break the bank and go do it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of how the Blazers kind of end up looking in this whole thing. So anyway, NBA. That's all the NBA news I have. You got anything else about the NBA you want to talk about?
No, nothing in particular.
Okay, perfect. Let's talk about the PGA. Well, it's the British Open. You know what? Why does it start with that particular picture? Why don't we just start with the first picture, which is the one I wanted to start with, which is this one. Anyway, so I don't know why things happen. Brian Harman is your British Open champion, winning by 6 strokes over Jason Day, Tom Kim, John Rahm, and Sepp Straka. It was Harman's first major victory and only his 3rd PGA Tour win in a career that has spanned 14 years. He's been playing PGA Tour golf for 14 years, and this is his 3rd win, period. And
Right.
yeah, first major. But he was pretty dominant in this event. He started early, and his last couple of rounds were kind of just average, but nobody played well the last 2 days anyway because it was rainy and windy and all that kind of stuff that it is always at the British Open. But the question I have is, I guess, for the PGA Tour is why are all your majors are all done now? in
Yeah.
July, and we can't get a large. There's no large event happening other than the FedEx Cup points thing that they have going on at the end of the season, which unless you're vying for a tour card, it's irrelevant to most people. Um, there's nothing to watch now.
Right.
You sandwiched them all between April and July, all these events, and now there's nothing to watch. The PGA Tour becomes irrelevant for the rest of the year. And we talked about this earlier. We get football, but I just wish they'd have something later that you'd want to watch.
I mean, the problem. All right, so like I don't know viewership numbers for golf, right? I know that viewership numbers for the Masters are usually pretty good. I know that viewership numbers for the what's the one in Arizona, the Waste Management Open.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
Phoenix.
that's usually pretty good. But I know attendance numbers are usually better than viewership numbers. Um, but I don't know that many people that watch golf. Like I
Hmm.
know a lot of people, I don't know that many people that watch it. So either you're going to it for the most
Right.
part, or you're not caring.
Right.
Right? There's a smaller section of people that watch them all the time, but going to it or not caring, and I don't know. Like I wrap them all up. I mean, I guess I want to say you got to play when the weather's nice, but in this picture that's on our screen, it's raining.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
you're
Yeah.
not even playing when the weather's nice. So I don't understand.
Yeah. I don't really either. But it's they could do like the British Open could be later in the year. Now, probably if you go later in the year, the weather's just gonna get worse because this is July
Right.
and the weather is cold. You see these guys wearing jackets and umbrellas, and that's July in England. But I mean, as a British Open, where you aren't competing necessarily for viewership because NBC Sports covered this British Open, right? And none of the tee times, none of it you could watch during the regular day. It was on in the middle of the night because it's in England. So you're not asking for TV viewership anyway, and the attendance is going to be there because these British fans don't give a crap about NFL football.
Right.
So it seems to me that could be later in the season, but the weather might be the issue there, I guess. So I don't know.
Right.
It's interesting. I don't know. I was just asking. It just
So here's what I'm seeing. In last year in the playoffs,
yeah.
the NFL was averaging 14.8 million viewers per game. Right.
Okay.
Some more, some less. Golf is at a high right now. It's
Sure.
absolutely riding a wave. And on CBS, they're averaging 2.59 million.
Okay.
So not even
per round or for the total?
per event.
Per event.
CBS has averaged 2.59 million viewers for 4 PGA Tour events. So per event. So that's 2.59 million spread across 4 days.
Okay.
I guess if you want to think about it that way, but I think it sounds better to say 2.59 per event.
Sure.
Because one event of football is 18, one event of golf is 2.5. So that's huge. Like that's a huge difference. You
but you're
cannot
also
afford to play golf
hold on
at the same time that football is going on.
What about regular season football games? Because you're talking about playoff games. Well, those don't start till freaking January.
Yeah.
So
regular season is probably going to be interesting because you have different networks carrying different things.
Right. And so many different games on TV. Your viewership is going to be different. I mean, total viewership is what you're asking, which the NFL would have.
16.7 million viewers per game is the average this year. That's down 2% from 17.1 last year. So regular season games average 16.7 million viewers.
Per game?
Per game.
Oh.
That's down 2% from 17.1 average viewers during the 21 season. And so then the next question is NBA per game viewership.
Yeah,
because
they're going to be in there too at the same time.
5.47 million per game is the average. That was for the playoffs. 5.47 million per game for the playoffs. Now the reason why that's lower, why? There's more games going on at once.
And,
for a while,
and
it's a little tougher.
and during the, well, see now their playoffs don't run up against another sport other than NHL. Which doesn't steal many viewers, I don't think. But so that's weird. But I mean, I don't know. That's interesting.
So here's another good thought, though. So on ABC, ESPN, and TNT, they're averaging 1.6 million viewers per regular season game. So nationally televised games. That's why I said this was going to be hard because I don't know what Root Sports Northwest. I don't know if they
Right.
publish their numbers the same way.
Right.
But on the nationally televised game, 1.6 million viewers. How many nationally televised games are there a week? 5.
Hmm.
So
Right.
if you want to call that the nationally televised event for the week, that's however many
Right.
viewers. That's
Yeah.
7 million, 8 million viewers. So if you're trying to kick off golf at the right time, like you're fighting these numbers.
Sure.
You have a small window post NBA finals and pre football training camp and beginning of football season to really work this, to really maximize your time.
Yeah. I suppose.
And then right now you're fighting the World Cup.
Well, kind of, except for the World Cup's in a place where you can't watch most of the games. So, again, that's my issue with when they're around the world like that. You have a hard time. This one here, especially. And by the way, since you've mentioned the World Cup, the Netherlands, we're in the 22nd minute. The Netherlands leads the United States 1-0.
Right.
So, United States has looked better, but not good enough yet. So anyway, there's that.
So back in the 2018 World Cup, 14.3 million viewers turned in per match to watch. Was the men's World Cup, the 2018 men's World Cup final. The women's one was even more.
But where was the women's one?
Where was the World Cup?
Yeah, where was the women's World Cup? Yeah, where was the last women's World Cup? That's the question I have, because I need to know that. I don't remember where it was.
If it wasn't in America, because these are all just based on America, though, right?
American TV audience
viewership numbers from America, from our Nielsen ratings,
right?
Not accounting for somebody else's. So the bottom line is that's even more of an indictment. If this was in whatever place and the games are airing at 2 a.m. and they're still getting 11.7, why the hell can't golf figure it out on a Sunday afternoon?
Well, because this only happens once every 4 years, so.
I hear what you're saying. Football happens every year. Basketball happens every year. World Cup happens there's a World Cup every 2 years, and all of them smoke golf.
Yeah, but soccer is a bigger sport than all of those things. Than even in NFL.
Completely agree, but most people would argue in the United States it's the 4th biggest sport.
Sure.
But we're only talking United States ratings.
Yeah.
We're not talking about worldwide how popular it is. I'm talking about in this country where soccer is not the most popular sport, although it is gaining a lot of popularity. It is not the most popular sport. It still outclasses in terms of viewership. What's it called? In terms of viewership, outclasses golf. I don't know what MLS ratings are, though, because they've been all over the place with their networks. Like, they're Apple TV now, and I don't think Apple TV publishes that information.
Right.
I don't see why they wouldn't, but yeah, okay. See, the Fox networks in 2022 averaged 198,000 MLS match viewers, with Fox itself averaging 443,000 viewers.
So the 2019 World Cup was in France for the women.
Yeah, there you go.
And the men's back in 2020 was in Qatar. So yeah. So that's interesting. Yeah, but soccer is a bigger sport than all of these other sports, just in terms of
worldwide.
Yeah,
we both agree on that statement,
but
that doesn't necessarily affect this.
But yeah, it sort of does, because what I'm saying is you have people in the United States that aren't watching NFL football, PGA golf, baseball, or whatever, but they are tuning into that World Cup soccer match. They love soccer. There are soccer fans out there that are not tuning into any of that other crap, just soccer. There's a lot of them. People from other countries who have never, they don't care about U.S. baseball. No one cares about that. They don't care about basketball. What they care about is that their home country, wherever they moved from, is playing in the World Cup. And that's a big deal. Yeah, so there's a lot of those people out there.
But I'm saying it's a contributor. So if they're not watching, so let's say you're trying to extend out the golf season, right? Because you want to expand it. Because why are we condensing it all to a short period of time? Let's put more events. Let's expand it out. Whatever you got to do. And then you're starting to compete with these other sports, right? You really can't go too far into the fall because the weather starts getting interesting, but you could go probably a little earlier in the year. You could probably dip back into June and April in some places, especially if you're playing like in Texas or Arizona, things like that. But now you're talking about competing with the NBA. The MLB averages 1.5 million viewers per ESPN event, all right? Yeah. The MLB, there's 162 games a year. There's an ESPN MLB game almost every night, and they're pulling 1.5. So again, this is not meant to just
Sure.
dog on golf. It's just to point out
I
a
get
very,
it.
very obvious, realistic fact. Is the reason why they're doing what they're doing is because they know they can't compete.
Maybe.
So they're so just kind of stick to that little space that you get and absolutely maximize and capitalize on it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's just weird to me. NASCAR does the same thing. Their biggest race of the year is in February, and that's right in the middle of. Well, I guess it's the week like between the. It's like Pro Bowl week.
Right.
So anyway, all right.
You talking about the Indy 500?
No, I'm talking the Daytona 500.
Oh,
in NASCAR. Yeah, they bill that as their biggest race of the year.
Is that what they do? They really?
Absolutely.
I know that.
And it's one of the like first 2 or 3 races of the season.
Huh.
Yeah, everything else is meh at that point. So, but NASCAR is one of those things. We talked about this before. NASCAR is one of those things I never understood NASCAR anyway, because they have a race. They have like points that they hand out like golf does, right? Because it's an individual sport. I get it. And at the end of the season, the last few races are championship races. If you're in the top 8 or top 16 or however many, you earn points towards a championship, but the previous points already count.
Yeah.
And then also you're racing against people who have no chance to win. So if a driver doesn't like you and doesn't want you to win, he could just take your car out and you're done, which I don't agree with. But that's just kind of how it is. I mean, it's kind of weird that they let the 40th place guy race against the number 1 guy while he's racing for a championship, and the other guy has nothing to lose.
It looks like this year's Formula One or this year's NASCAR Cup Series started on February 5th.
Yep.
And then the Daytona 500 was February 19th.
So third race in, I think.
So there was the Coliseum, then there was the Blue Greens Vacations Duel at Daytona.
Yeah.
February 16th, and then the Blue Greens Vacation Duel 2, February 16th, and then the Daytona 500, February 19th.
So technically it was the second
location. I think it was the second main race of the season, and they definitely skipped a week for the Super Bowl, which was February 12th.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would get that. All sports should skip a week for that.
Do not compete with the Super Bowl.
There's no reason to do that because no one's watching that.
No one's watching that, especially when you're talking about true American sports like NASCAR and football. Right. There is zero need.
All right. Let's talk quickly about MLS because Messi's here. Lionel Messi had quite the debut for Inter Miami, coming on in the 54th minute against Cruz Azul last Friday, I think, and then having a stoppage time game-winning free kick to give Miami a 2-1 win. In his first start, which was today, they played Atlanta, and he had 2 first-half goals, assisted on another, right, helping Miami to a 4-0 win over Atlanta. He's now scored against 100 different teams in his career, club teams, and he has 3 goals in 2 games. Honestly, he has 3 goals in like 90 minutes total of game time. So he's going to be phenomenal in MLS because he's clearly better than everyone else. But you thought that about David Beckham when he came over, and I don't think he materialized to be that kind of player, but I think Messi is that guy. So it's
Messi's second all time on the total goal scoring.
Yeah.
For all of soccer. So
yeah,
he's pretty good. I'll tell you though, I'm really disappointed in his whole not playing on turf, and he has the ability to choose certain games to sit out.
Yeah,
that's. I mean, so a great example is the Portland Timbers. Unless they pay a lot of money to change their field, will never get Leo Messi to play there.
It's true, and I'm not a big fan of that either. But I will tell you that there are players in every sport, maybe save football because they don't play enough games. There are players in basketball and baseball who also have that ability to say, "I don't want to play tonight," and what are you going to do?
Well, hold on now. The ability to say, "Oh, my left ankle's sore, I can't play."
Well, that's the ability to say, that's different. You call it what you want.
And what Messi can do, which
is just say no.
No, I don't want to play there.
But that's all LeBron has to do, and they're going to make up an ankle injury.
Agreed.
Okay,
but that's
semantics.
Not the point. That's
semantics.
No, it's written. There's a difference. If LeBron sits out a game, they have to come up with a reason.
Right.
They can fabricate one, but they have to come up with a reason.
But the
Messi
reason
can
he's
just say no.
The actual reason he's sitting out is no different.
But that's not all right. So let's say Lionel Messi, Miami's supposed to come to Colorado next week, and
Sure.
the Colorado mayor calls him out and says, "Messi, I dare you to come here," and he goes, "No, I'm not doing it."
Okay.
Or say he does it 2 days before. No, I'm not doing it.
Okay.
That's wrong.
I agree.
Okay. It's written into his contract. That's more wrong.
Only because MLS lets it happen, so it's not wrong. MLS is letting it happen.
No, that doesn't make it right,
It's-
right? I
it's
mean, we talk about load
morally
management
wrong.
and things like that.
Morally wrong.
It's
Technically right.
ethically wrong.
Correct.
It's ethically wrong for
It's
the MLS to allow it to happen. It's morally
It's-
wrong for him to do it.
It's ethically wrong for someone like Luka Doncic to come to Portland and say, "Oh, my ankle hurts," or "I'm tired from yesterday. I don't want to play."
Completely agree.
So it's the
you
same.
Can
it's
lie.
just you can't. It's just you can't. It's not written
You
into his
can
contract because the NBA
lie.
doesn't allow that.
Yeah, exactly. You
That's
can
all.
lie and
But
get
it's
out
the
of playing.
same.
But
I don't see a difference.
You don't see this as more arrogant.
No,
Like,
I don't. If it's
Because you know it's happening. Right?
Okay, here's
They're
my
trying to cover tracks and things like that, but we know what's happening. We all understand it. But he has the unilateral ability to give a middle finger to any fan and the league itself. Oh, it's an ESPN.
So does
game
LeBron James.
It's an ESPN game on us. Yeah, absolutely. With a lie. He has to lie. The team has to lie to have it happen.
Sure.
He doesn't have to lie. He can just say no.
Got it.
That's different.
But when you got a guy who can score 3 goals in 90 minutes in 2 games that he's in a league he's never played in and with a team he's never played with, that's pretty good. And I'm going to tell you what, if you could guarantee that your quarterback could come out and throw 7 touchdowns anytime he wanted to, and he wants to take tomorrow off, you're going to let him.
And you're going to lie for him because he can't just do
That's
it.
just because it's
You
league
have to
rules.
lie.
It's still unethical. It's just league rules. That's all you're talking about is the league has ruled that that's what you have to do. The MLS doesn't have that rule, and that's what you're upset about. Not him. It's not his fault that the MLS lets him do that. That's not his fault.
I completely agree.
Yeah, it's just like the PGA
The
Tour.
MLS allowed this to happen. It is ethically wrong for the MLS to allow it, and it's morally wrong for him to choose to do it, as opposed to the NBA.
It's not
the NBA is not doing anything ethically wrong. The teams are doing something ethically wrong.
My personal feeling is less morally wrong if it's in your contract and MLS says it's okay. It is less morally wrong for you to just say no than it is for those other guys to lie.
So the next question is how are they going to deal with refunds? So you buy a ticket to go see Miami a week before. Messi
You should
says,
know ahead
I'm
of
not
time.
going there.
Yeah.
Week before, Messi says, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And because his contract says he only has to give a week's notice.
Got it.
All right. So a week before he says no, you've planned your whole trip because you live in wherever, and Atlanta's the closest team. So you're going to drive down to Atlanta and you're going to go watch Messi. You've booked hotels and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he says, no, I'm not playing. Who's responsible for that?
You can't do that till the week of because clearly you won't know until then.
Right, and just pay those 4, 5, 6 times
I
premiums,
guess.
which is exactly what the MLS wants and what the problem
I
is.
guess. I don't know.
Like,
I'm absolutely agree with you that it's wrong. What I'm telling you is it's not wrong to the level of we have to lie to cover it. It is exactly what the rules say. If that's the case, then why is that wrong? He's playing by whatever rules they give him.
No, I am not
I get it.
blaming him. One more time, do not think that I am saying Messi's doing something wrong. He is doing exactly
you
what's
said
allowed
he
of
could
him.
give the finger to whatever fans he wants to.
He could.
The MLS is letting it happen, so it's not
Right.
wrong. The MLS is wrong for allowing
wrong by
it.
the MLS to allow this to be written into a
Good.
contract.
Good.
Morally
The NBA
wrong by Messi to choose to do it
and the
if he does it for those reasons.
And the NBA and the NFL are morally wrong for
Right.
allowing teams to lie and say this guy's hurt.
See, now we're getting into
Same.
it. The NBA and the NFL don't lie for LeBron. The team lies for LeBron.
But they know they're
Messi
lying.
surpasses
They know they're lying.
Miami and talks to the league and says, I'm done for this week. It's
Got
a
it.
little different.
Not quite because LeBron.
It's very different.
The NBA knows exactly when you're lying. They absolutely know that. There is
Do you
no
not
way
think
they
this
don't
sets
know.
a dangerous precedent moving forward?
There
that,
is
that
no way
now
they don't know.
superstar athletes across all sport can say, well, Messi has a thing in his contract to just not play whenever the hell he wants to and not give a reason why. So why don't I have that? And next thing you know, Patrick Mahomes is sitting out 3 games
I'm not
as
saying
he
it's
chooses.
right.
LeBron James sitting out 3 games as he chooses with no explanation to the fans.
Got it.
At least we were under this guise of a lie before where they were saying, oh, his ankle. So we were saying, oh, yeah, sure it was. But we were at least under a guise. Now we don't have to be under that guise. We can just be told, nah, don't want to come to your town.
Yeah, I don't.
Sorry you spent your money. Sorry you took your time off. Sorry you made travel plans. Don't really want to do it. That's on you.
Yeah, we just went to a Portland Trailblazers game last year.
This is exactly the problem.
Right?
Lying to us was the agreement that we had with all athletes,
but
you would occasionally get to lie to us about your injury status for quote load management.
But everyone knows it's a lie.
Everyone knows it's a lie, but you don't. You're like 99.9% sure is what you are.
Well, what I'm saying is
right now you will be 100% sure if Messi says I'm not coming.
What I'm saying is, oh, well, this is the second game of a back-to-back, and it's on the road, and I played 49 minutes yesterday because we went into overtime. I don't want to play today. My ankle hurts. That's exactly what happens, right? But the NBA knows what the stats already. They know what's going on.
Right,
so when
but
they
the NBA is
submit
also trying to counter it.
But when they submit the injury report, what's the NBA going to say? Well, I don't think he's hurt. They don't do that. They could, but they don't.
The NBA is also trying to counter it. They have intentionally gone out of their way to address load management in various situations. There were less players doing it this season than there was last season. There was less last season.
They're trying to adjust the schedule.
Right. Well, it doesn't matter what they're doing. They're trying to make it to where fans, people who are paying money to see it, get what they're entitled to. The exchange here is that I give you money and I get to see the people, the good people, unless there's a good damn reason for it.
Right.
Right. Messi is setting a precedent that if you're good enough, they will just do whatever you want.
Hold on. Messi's not setting the precedent. The MLS is.
Well, Miami is, yeah. Well, no, it's the MLS because the MLS could have avoided it.
The MLS, yep.
Miami has very little to do with this. That's why I say it's different than the other ones. Because if LeBron says, I don't want to play, and the Lakers agree, they're going to lie for LeBron. To the league.
Yeah, the contract has to get approved by the league. So if it's in his contract, the league says, oh, yeah, that's okay.
Right. But again, LeBron tells his team, and his team lies for him.
I agree.
Whereas Messi doesn't have to tell much.
He doesn't have to
inform the team.
He doesn't have to lie.
He doesn't have to lie, but I don't know. It feels more insulting.
I agree with you. I agree. We're on the same page.
And the turf thing, the turf thing I get. You've played on grass your whole life. There's marginal evidence to suggest that turf is more dangerous than grass.
I don't know if it is for soccer players.
It actually is, yes. Maybe. There's marginal evidence across all sports. But it's marginal. Like enough to where you'd say there's concern, but not enough to where you'd actually go up ripping up your field and installing grass tomorrow. Like the cost and the concern really balance out. That's another question. If Messi gets hurt on a turf field at somebody's stadium,
clearly he won't.
Stadium liable?
Clearly he won't because he's not going to play on it.
Okay. That was a hypothetical.
Yeah, right.
Let's humor me and let's not act like the MLS and Messi are pieces of shit right now. Okay. Well, Messi's dodging his home country because he's on tax evasion charges and things like that.
I'm not
coming here to do a vacation tour and take days off so he can go watch the finals.
I wasn't. Nobody ever said this is the greatest human in the history of humans. But no. So.
But and that's why when he puts that into his see, that's another thing. I don't know if he put it into his contract and said this is non-negotiable, and the MLS said okay,
and they might
it's a huge economic boost.
Yep, exactly. Viewership is going to go up. Yeah, absolutely.
Money rules everything around me, right?
So are those pink uniforms.
I really get it.
Pink uniforms are a big draw. That's a Miami thing.
I like the black uniforms
with the pink on them.
I just don't like collars on soccer jerseys. I know it's a classic look, but I don't like collars.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the collars either.
Like I like the kind of more athletic looking.
That's from the early '90s.
Yeah, it's an old.
Used to do it back in the day, +70s through.
I'm picturing Alexi Lawless in his like really baggy Team USA one with the collar on it. It's really goofy looking.
Plus the goofy hair. Yeah, he's got a lot of hair. And anyway, that was a good conversation, but We'll talk more about. We'll see how many games he actually plays in.
Yeah, that's
true. So far, he's 2 for 2. So
hey, we'll see if Miami can climb out of last place.
I mean, I feel like that's a given because he's probably the best player out there. Even if he only plays 60% of the games, you're going to win more.
He's got a month off now.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I guess it's not technically a month off. They're doing Leagues Cup play right now. So but yeah.
All right, let's talk about the Formula One.
Okay.
Max Verstappen won the 2023 Hungarian Grand Prix on Sunday in rather convincing fashion with a 33-second cushion over Lando Norris. It was Norris's second straight second-place finish and the first time in his F1 career with back-to-back podium finishes. Verstappen's Red Bull teammate Sergio Perez finished third after starting 9th. That's the hardest working man in F1, by the way. mostly because he can't seem to qualify higher. Um, I don't know what that reason is, but it is. Pole sitter Lewis Hamilton finished fourth after kind of a strategic error in the first turn of the first lap. It lost him 2 places immediately to Verstappen and Piastri. And then later, few turns later, he was passed by Norris. And that's where he finished, was fourth. He just could never make it up, which is probably going to fuel more speculation that McLaren is cheating by the other teams, because how come they're so much faster? How come we can't catch them now?
Right.
Which is probably what everyone else was saying about Mercedes when they improved significantly.
Every time somebody improves, they do
absolutely.
it.
Yeah, everybody complains.
I've found old articles about when Lewis was at McLaren and they got good. Everyone was like, "How is this happening?" And then he was at Mercedes, like, "How is this happening?" And then Sebastian Vettel at Red Bull, "How is this happening?"
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. They all just gripe.
And right now it seems like it's a different team vying. I mean, it was Ferrari at the beginning of the season. It was Aston Martin and Ferrari right there, right, trying to catch Red Bull, and now then it became Mercedes, and now it's McLaren, and those other teams have kind of dropped off, and until somebody makes another upgrade or improvement, then they'll jump back up in front. It just seems like, number one, you can't catch Red Bull; those cars are too fast. No matter what you do, when the DRS is on, they are unstoppable. I mean, they're that much faster. But anyway, so yeah, but it's nice to see McLaren having some success. So we'll see. They're coming on strong. Norris earned 18 points for his second place finish. By the way, he's earned 48 points of his 60 total for the season in the last 3 races.
Right.
Which is why that speculation is being thrown out there. And Oscar Piastri has finished 5th and 4th, I think, or 5th and 6th or something in the last 2 races. They've been good. McLaren has been good. They'll catch some of those other teams at this rate. And Aston Martin has fallen off. Fernando Alonso, who was, 3rd for however many straight races, right? And had a couple of second place finishes. He's been struggling. He's in the points, but he's down, 7th, 8th at best. And then George Russell had a strategy to Fugly at Mercedes in this race that left him out to dry with a tire change. And, it was a strategy thing, but I don't know. I like watching F1. I just wish someone else would win.
Yeah.
I want anybody. It doesn't matter who. And that we may get that at Spa, because Spa is always rainy. And when rain happens, it's the great equalizer. Although Max seems to be great with wet tires on too. So I don't know how that'll affect everything. But last year's Spa race was canceled after 3 laps, or they had completed, 5 laps, or I don't know, whatever it was, right? And they got half points or something stupid. We'll see if that happens again. But so we saw Danny Ricciardo back on the track, right?
Right.
Ricciardo finished. He was involved in a crash in turn 1 that involved at least 4 cars. Managed to salvage 13th place, which is where he started, was where he qualified. Both Alpine drivers, Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly, were knocked out of the race due to car damage because of that crash. And there's a picture right there of Esteban Ocon. Apparently, his seat broke in pieces.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. I had not seen this part of this. They never showed this where he went airborne, or part of his car went airborne.
Yeah.
They showed other parts.
It reminds me of Imola? No, not Imola.
Yeah.
I think Imola?
It was Imola or Monza.
Monza. It was Monza with Lewis and Max.
Yeah. One on top of the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very similar, with still frame.
Yep. But poor Alpines. Two straight did not finishes for both cars in 2 races. Zhou Guan Yu from Alfa Romeo caused this whole incident by coming in hot and bumping a car.
Right.
And he gets a small time penalty. He gets a 5-second time penalty, right? Number one, I think if you cause an accident and cars go out, cars have to retire because you caused that accident, you should have to retire. You don't get points. Sorry, you're done. That's just kind of how I feel. If they literally come out and say, you caused the accident, we're going to give you a penalty. Well, then why not just disqualify them for causing that? So if everybody stayed in, I get the time penalty.
Right.
But if there's a guy who actually had to disqualify, he has to get out of his car because you did this, you should have to get out. What do you think of that?
I think fault is a tricky thing.
I get it.
I think that Formula One has made it really clear they don't love to assign blame. They love to note incidents, and
Yeah.
that's it. Like that's their preferred method is we hear you, something went on, and then that's it. So to think that they would ever I don't mind the idea. Yeah, if you blatantly cause an accident, then you have to do it. But see, this is where you'll get into tricky things. What we were just talking about,
Yeah.
Max and Lewis at Monza.
Yeah.
Who was at fault?
Right.
Like the stewards punished Max, but
Right.
they were both out of the race. Like,
Yeah. And
now what do you do about it? Like,
penalize them
like
grid places next race.
I think if you do something in a race that takes the opponent out of it,
Yeah.
I think that the only solution is at the time of the incident, right? Because it's the only frame of reference you have. So in this case, let's say Lewis was 1 and Max was 2, right? Because I don't think that's what it was. I think it was actually the opposite. So let's say Lewis was 1 and Max was 2. Lewis had a chance to get 25 points.
Yeah.
So Max loses. Lewis doesn't gain. Max loses 25 points from his season totals.
Ooh.
Yeah. Because I don't want to give it to Lewis, because a lot could happen over the course of the race. But you definitely took this person's chance for those points away.
Right. For
so,
sure.
Assuming this is you're blaming one person or the other.
Right.
But then you have to get into who's to blame.
But clearly you're assigning blame if you're giving him a 5-second penalty for causing a collision.
Right.
So
right.
And
blame
has been assigned.
I don't like time penalties.
I don't either.
In races that you can't finish.
Yeah, I mean, well, and then the time penalty for a guy like Joe is, I mean, nothing, because he's not normally there. I mean, he's not normally involved
he's back 5 of the grid.
Make a difference.
I think that the 3 things that need to be done is they need to focus more on points penalties. So not time penalties. Time penalties or on-track penalties for qualifying like breaches. On-track penalties for like cost cap breaches. Things like that.
Yeah.
Things that are actually on track, like during races. And then points penalties for in-race breaches. Assuming you are out and the other person's out and things like that. If neither one of you goes out of the race, or if you bump somebody and it only slows you down, yeah, you can still take a time penalty. But it's so tough. You have to go case by case for all of it.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting.
And they all whine about it.
And you know what's the best part is? We don't even hear the whining like we did last year because they've stopped that. Right?
Yeah.
That communication.
They didn't. I think that Formula One drivers got together and looked at the FIA and looked at Netflix and said, we're not playing this freaking game again.
Right.
You are not going to sit here and blast us all day. Horner's not shown on TV. Wolf is very rarely shown on TV.
Just briefly.
I mean, I think they talked to Horner during this last race.
Yeah, they did.
I think this shortly after the start. Like, hey, how'd you feel about that? And he was like, yeah, it was great. But like, that's the only time you talk.
Yeah, they've tightened it up. For sure.
Yeah, it's more about the race and less about the circus the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
But this season's definitely even more.
So Verstappen has 100. He's 110 points ahead of Sergio Perez in the driver's standings. Leads third place Fernando Alonso of Aston Martin by 142 points.
Right.
And that 142 points, just for everybody who doesn't know the scoring, that's 6 races. If Max took 6 races off, and Fernando Alonso won all 6 races, he would lead Max by 8 points heading into that next race. That's where it would be. It's a gigantic lead. This was Red Bull's 12th consecutive win to start the season, which is a record. It was Max's 7th in a row. He's 2 away from the record. We talked about that last week as a trivia question. 9 is the record. So he's only 2 away. Spa might be the difference. Spa's going to be a different race, just because it always is. So and then let's talk about the trophy. After the race, Lando Norris has this, I guess, tradition of he smashes the bottom, doesn't smash it, but he bangs the bottom of the champagne bottle on the podium, which causes the cork to come out, right?
So fun.
And champagne to go everywhere. So when he did that, it somehow knocked over Max's handmade porcelain trophy, first place trophy, and broke it. The trophies take 6 months to make. They cost approximately 40,000 euros, and it just fell over and broke. It looked like when he did it, like he smashed it intentionally, like he came down on top of it, but he didn't. He came down next to it, but right next to it. And so I guess I don't know. And now there's talk about like Helmut Marko is going to talk to Max about being more responsible. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, how are you going to talk to your Formula One driver who's winning everything and tell him that he can't set his trophy down wherever he wants to? I don't know, but
And also, in
yeah.
the past, has it seemed like anybody can tell Max anything?
No, and by the way, these trophies are beautiful. They're absolutely
I think
stunning.
really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is neat. And Formula
honestly,
One,
that is way more valuable now than it was.
no, absolutely, and that was what people were saying online. The comments were like, you need to hang on to this. Don't get rid of it because this is going to be worth millions
This is
at some
awesome.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the broken trophy from whatever, right?
From when Red Bull set the streak for most consecutive wins.
Wherever the Formula One Hall of Fame is, and I don't know if there is one. Honestly, I never looked it up, but wherever there is, that needs to be there.
And I hope it's like next to it is that picture of Lando kind of like going
looking back at the turn like, what did I just do? Whoops. Are they going to allow me to race next week?
I like that they all kind of laugh it off.
What else can you do? And then Max is carrying off the pieces, right? At the end.
Yeah, he's holding. That was the one thing. Lando did it. It fell, and then he just continued to spray champagne for a few seconds, and then turns and points at it and tells him, and I'm sure he says, "I'm sorry." But
once the cork pops,
but
once the cork pops, you got to continue to spray the champagne. It only lasts so long.
I know.
You got to finish. Commitment. Anyway, that was interesting. That was one of the neater things.
Highlights of the race.
Yeah, that I've seen this year, to be honest with you, is the trophy got destroyed. And F1, by the way, has some of the most beautiful trophies. They're just...
Some of them are kind of ugly.
Some of them are, but some of them are really amazing. And a handmade porcelain trophy is just... That's crazy. Can you imagine having one of those in your house? That's just cool.
There's some really good ones out there, but I'm like trying to think of like the ones that I know of in my head,
right?
And the ones I like and don't like. I like Imolo's trophy. I think it's great. The Belgian GP trophy is kind of garbage. It's like it's just like an outline of the track, but it's like big and bulky because Imolo's is the same way.
Right. Well, Spa should just be a big raindrop.
Well, that's true.
So they should have
the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix has it looks like the palm tree on top.
Yeah.
That one's really pretty.
Yep. Some of them are beautiful. Some of them are not as big a deal, but some of them are just gorgeous.
Some of them are really pretty. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, they're going to be at Spa, Belgium this week. Races on Sunday. It is forecast. Saturday's qualifying has a 78% chance of rain at this point. So odds are pretty good that we're going to see some craziness, which is awesome. What did you think of the tire thing? Hard for Q1, medium, and then soft. I'm not sure it made a whole bunch of difference.
Doesn't seem to have, huh?
But there are some people that qualified higher. Zhou Guanyu was higher qualifier than he probably has been. What it does to me, what they're trying to do is they've eliminated. So instead of carrying 13 sets of tires from race to race, to 11, right? And this is all contributes to Formula One's wanting to be net zero by 2030 or whatever, right?
Right.
And I get that. However, what you've done is you've made the teams that are less fast, less competitive by doing it, because you can't put on a soft tire and be faster than the other teams and hope to make it into a different qualifying round. That's
a backwards way of viewing that, because okay, so let's say you give Joe the chance to put on a soft tire, but Max also has it.
He does.
You're still not competitive.
But he's saving his soft for the race. He's not using it in qualifying.
Probably, yeah. Usually, but yeah,
that's the difference.
I feel like outside of him and maybe one or two other people, everyone's probably going to run soft tires if the track conditions allow for it.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. I like it, and
emphasis on the driver now.
And now, yeah, exactly. Everybody's equal, right? Except for the cars,
which are supposed to be relatively equal.
Yeah, they're not. There's clearly one great one. There's three good ones, and there's everybody else. Yeah.
Everyone keeps talking about Red Bull's floor. They say Red Bull's the under part of their car, their floor of their car, is what's making them incredible, and no one can crack the code on it.
Yeah. Well. So just a quick update. I think we're at halftime of the Women's World Cup, and it's 1-0 Netherlands still. So, U.S. has 9 total shots. They're out shooting Netherlands 9-2. but the one that mattered went in. There's that. So let's talk about the NFL real quick. I don't know if we're going to have time to talk about what we want to talk about because we're already at an hour. We might have to save that because we got a lot of NFL stuff going on here. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. The Los Angeles Chargers and former Oregon Duck quarterback Justin Herbert signed a 5-year contract. They agreed to a 5-year contract extension Tuesday, worth a reported $262.5 million. The deal includes a no-trade clause and contains $133.7 million in full guarantees and $193.7 in injury guarantees. The average per-year salary of $52.5 makes Herbert the highest-paid quarterback in NFL history, which means there's going to be more pressure on him, right? I mean, yeah, because he was on a to be his last year of his rookie deal, right? He has 2 years remaining. This year he would get paid $4.23 million. So the difference is staggering. But we're going to back it up here in just a minute, by the way, why he gets that. He's thrown for 14,089 yards over his first 3 seasons, which is the most in NFL history in the first 3 seasons of a career. He and Peyton Manning are the only 2 quarterbacks to throw 25 or more touchdowns in each of their first 3 years, right? If Herbert, so how do I want to back this up? He's got, if you take his 4 years, right, the first 4 years, I looked up who has the most passing yards in the first 4 seasons of their career. It's Peyton Manning at 16,418. Herbert already has 14,000 yards. He only needs 2,000 yards, a little over, like 2,400 yards this year to pass Peyton Manning for being number 1 all time through first 4 seasons. He's doing everything you'd want an NFL quarterback to do, and that's with being hurt for a little bit of this last season, I think the last 2 seasons, right?
Right.
So he hasn't played in as many games. Herbert's played in 49 games so far in 3 seasons. Peyton Manning in 4 seasons, 64. He played in all of the games, all 16 games. So there's that. But he's doing everything you'd want him to do with a defense that's been suspect, with some offensive weapons that have been injured. One wide receiver or the other. Austin Eckler got hurt for one of those seasons, for not the whole season, but for a lot of it, a big chunk of it. He's going to deal with a brand new offensive coordinator this year, and Kellen Moore, which I think is going to be better.
I think it's going to be better.
Kellen Moore was good with Dallas. The offense was good. It's Dak Prescott, I think, that was holding them back. Yeah, let's be honest. But I think they're going to benefit from that. This deal here is going to set the stage for Joe Burrow, who's negotiating a possible contract extension with the Bengals.
Yeah, it'll be big. It'll be bigger than Herbert.
He's got more. I don't want to say he's better, but he's got more to show for it, right? Because
he's got more top end accolades,
right?
Like,
but that's because
Herbert's got numbers
because his team was better,
efficiency and stuff like that. But Joe Burrow's team's a little more stacked,
right?
And hasn't had as many injury issues as a team. Joe Burrow himself had a whole year of an injury issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think Joe Burrow is going to get a bigger paycheck. Also, Joe Burrow's a bigger personality. Like
he is.
He's more of a superstar than Justin Herbert is. Not to say that Justin Herbert isn't good,
because he doesn't want to.
Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert's quiet.
He's fine with being the everyman.
Yeah. It's classic Oregon quarterbacks, right?
Right.
Now that I'm thinking about it, other than Vernon Adams, they've all been pretty low key since I don't know, even since
way
Clemens.
Way back in the day. Even I don't even think Joey Harrington is a high profile quarterback.
He had like
talks,
all this stuff, and now he talks a lot.
Yeah, he talks a lot. But I mean, he's not that kind of guy. He's not flamboyant.
So going, what was all right? Achilles Smith.
Yeah, Achilles Smith.
Was he pretty low key?
I mean, yeah, you didn't really hear about him very much, and
I guess it was a different time too, right? In that like social media,
Achilles Smith was
now a bigger thing.
Number 3 overall pick.
Yeah.
Also for Cincinnati, by the way. And
I know Dan Fouts is a big trash talker.
He
an article about him being a loudmouth.
He was, but it's funny to think about that. Maybe the 2 best quarterbacks in Chargers history are going. I mean, one of them's Dan Fouts. And now it's going to be Justin Herbert probably.
Is Dan Fouts a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, absolutely.
So and Justin Herbert's on his way.
Right, correct.
He's on his way, at least early in his career.
Yeah, he's not quite there, but he is absolutely on his way.
That's so exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, Dan Fouts was a tremendous quarterback. Um, yeah, in an offense that was made to pass the football. So there's that.
He's got a whole building named after him at Nike.
Right. So yeah, it's a good it's an interesting deal. I love Justin Herbert. I love the way he plays. I love his mobility. I love that. Think he might take a few too many chances with his body still because he's an NFL quarterback. You need to limit those. But that's what makes him dynamic and hard to stop. Is that you don't know he can definitely sprint by you. He doesn't have super blazing fast speed, but it's fast enough to escape and make a play with his feet. And then, yeah, I mean, he's thrown. I had the number here, and now I'm trying to find it. He's now I don't have it. He's thrown 94 touchdowns in his first 3 seasons as an NFL quarterback. And anytime you're averaging 30 a year, that's pretty good.
That's a great deal.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So he has been sacked 101 times. I will say that, and that's his offensive line. There's an issue.
They've had some
and
issues.
some of them big hits. So
it reminds me, and it's obvious because Drew Brees played there, but it reminds me of Drew Brees at New Orleans, where you were constantly thinking, man, they're missing something. Right. He is too good to be being this held back.
Right.
What is going on here?
What's the deal? Right now it's just offensive line. If his offensive line gives him just a bit more protection, and his wide receivers will stay healthy, right? Because that's been the knock is Williams and Allen are not always healthy together.
They've been really struggling to stay healthy.
If they're both there all year and Austin Eckler's in the backfield and his offensive line can protect him, I don't think the defense matters at that point.
Justin Herbert is currently 152nd on the all-time scoring list or all-time touchdowns list.
152nd. He's
152nd.
Going to move up a big chunk over the next year.
Yep, he's just a couple of key notes for people who are above him. 141, Lamar Jackson and Kyle Orton tied. Yeah. Baker Mayfield, 138.
Right.
I'm trying to find
Baker Mayfield.
Jameis Winston, 139. He's not 139. He's at 101 with 139 touchdowns.
I will tell you this about Jameis Winston. As much as I don't like the person or what he was in college, I mean, I'm okay. I'm indifferent to him as a pro.
Yeah.
He played 56 games in his first 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Okay. And had 14,628 passing yards, right?
Yeah, he's good.
If he had played in all 64 games that he was eligible to play, another 8, he would be the all-time leading passer for the first 4 seasons in NFL history.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys that would have passed Peyton Manning for that. Dan Marino also didn't play as many games as Peyton Manning. Andrew Luck would have been ahead of him. Jameis Winston, Deshaun Watson would be ahead of him. Jared Goff would be ahead of him.
Jameis Winston's such a weird.
I know, right?
Not that that's a side like a too big of a hole, but like he always like he was so good sometimes and so bad
at the same time.
5 minutes later.
Yeah, at the same time.
Like, what just happened?
How did he throw 5 touchdowns and 5 interceptions in a game?
And you want to say like, well, Mike Evans, right?
Right.
Mike Evans helped him out quite a bit.
Sure.
But like he would throw these because Jameis Winston had a hell of an arm. He'd throw these deep bombs that were dead on in the back right corner from 40 yards out, and then he'd turn around and throw a shovel pass for a pick.
Yeah,
and you're like, how did you screw that up?
And another player, Patrick Mahomes, who played 1 game his first official season.
Right.
So he's only got 46 games played, right? 46 games played in his first 4 seasons. He would be at the top of this list had he played a full season. It's interesting to extrapolate some numbers, but Justin Herbert's right there. All of his numbers are right there with the greatest NFL quarterbacks.
If they throw some wins onto that, some playoff appearances,
if he can get
stop having to go through the freaking Charger or the Raiders every year.
Yeah, well, that's the issue is they got to just come out and beat. That may be moot this year. We'll see.
That may be moot, but if the word around the water cooler, and I'm not just talking about here in Denver, but nationally it's true, he's now going to have to face the Broncos in place of the Raiders, in that kind of like competing for second in the division type of space.
Yeah, if Russell's the guy and determines he's going to lead that team we'll see. Hey, let's go. Let's roll, right?
What is it? Let Russ cook. He says Broncos country. Let's ride.
Let's ride. That's what it is. Let's ride.
Right.
Saquon Barkley also signed a deal with the Giants. They agreed to a 1-year deal with $11 million. 10.1 is fully guaranteed. The deal does not include a no franchise tag, which means that the Giants can tag him again after the season. And he threatened to sit out
He's
this year.
he's buying time.
He is. He's looking for something bigger and better, and I think he's going to have to go out and have a monster season this year, and that will, make the contract extension that he wants. I don't know. We'll see. He had threatened to send out, but there's also a $2 million signing bonus on his $11 million contract, so there's that. Saquon Barkley's a good running back. I mean, he came on like gangbusters, right? Rookie of the year, I think, and then he got injured, had some problems. Last year he was good. I was 1,370 yards rushing, and he was the leading receiver on the Giants also
Yeah,
in terms of receptions. So, I mean, if you got a guy who's leading your team in rushing and receptions, I mean, you should pay him whatever he's worth, right?
I would say so.
I would say so. He's a tough guy to bring down. He is one of those low to the ground, stocky runners that really you struggle to get a hold of. He's been that way in Penn State. But anyway, let's talk about the Commanders. The NFL has fined former Washington Commanders owner Daniel Snyder $60 million after an independent investigation concluded he sexually harassed a team employee and that the team withheld revenue from the NFL. In her findings, attorney Mary Jo White, who led the investigation, cited Snyder's lack of cooperation, saying that he only had a limited involvement and didn't make himself available for comment or question, other than like a 2-hour brief interview. Yeah. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell said the league was satisfied with the outcome, saying, quote unquote, the findings speak for themselves. Do they? Anyway.
I mean, convenient timing that your findings come out after he sells the team.
Right. So I don't have to punish him.
You couldn't have told us what we all freaking knew, like
it.
3, oh, jeez, whatever.
I know, right? I mean, he's gone. So that's good, but there's still crap being dug up because there's a Congress investigating the handling of the Commanders, right? Which, I mean, they should have better things to do. And speaking of that, not that this is a side note because we're already, I mean, did you see today Mitch McConnell?
Mitch McConnell. No,
yeah, Mitch McConnell had he was doing a press conference, right? There at the Senate. He's a Senate minority leader. He literally stopped talking and froze for a number of seconds. I mean, 10 or 15, 20? Was unable to speak. Looked like he couldn't speak. And so they kind of washed it away as saying, well, he got dizzy. He was lightheaded. And he did come back and answer questions later. I mean, after they walked him away from the podium and he went away and somebody else spoke, and then he came back and answered some questions. But this is the kind of thing where I go, yeah, he's 81. How do you know that wasn't a mini stroke right then and there, right? Because that's what I would expect.
And no one will ever say.
And last fall,
right? I mean, it could have just been a senior moment.
And well, maybe. And last fall, he actually fell in a hotel room and hit his head. So there could be brain issues in there too. I don't know. But this is what you get when you get 80-year-old people running the country. You have these moments. And if it's just a senior moment, that might be worse than actually being able to explain it with a physical problem. I don't know. Anyway,
this is all conjecture, though.
Just saying. I'm just throwing it out there. It just was weird. Because if you go watch the video and you'll just see he just freezes. He's talking and then he just stops. And he's like motionless. His eyes don't move. His lips don't move. Nothing. Which is kind of weird and concerning. I mean, I hope he's okay. That's something I hope that I would never have to go through either. But if it's something serious, then, that needs to be identified. But that immediately they're going to wash it under the rug. And, oh, it's nothing.
Well, you don't want to appear weak, right?
Correct. Right.
You gotta keep the image of strength, and if his ability to function is in question,
right,
that puts you in a bad spot.
Correct. Yeah, that's true. Let's talk about these three guys right here. So, Quarterback, new show on Netflix that follows 3 NFL quarterbacks through last season, is available to watch. If you haven't watched it, you should watch it. I've only seen the first 2 episodes, but it's pretty darn interesting, I think, to watch these guys and how they react and the things that come up and their personal lives, as opposed to, you only see them as professional football players. You don't see this behind the scenes stuff very often,
right?
Which is really, really cool. But if you haven't watched
the behind scenes stuff that you do see is stuff like practice mic'd up,
right?
Which isn't quite the same.
Not quite. No, not like at home or, you know what I mean, other interactions, which you're seeing with this. Minnesota's Kirk Cousins, Kansas City's Patrick Mahomes, and former Atlanta quarterback and now Philadelphia Eagle backup and former Oregon Duck Marcus Mariota. Those are the 3 guys. And so far, it's interesting. I know you've watched the entire thing. And I haven't, so don't give away a spoiler. But does it get even better as we go? Like
It
past the
does.
first couple of okay, it does. All right.
It does.
Okay.
It doesn't, like, if you know how the season went,
Yeah.
right? Which you do.
Right.
Everyone saw it.
Right.
If you know how the season goes, then you kind of get an idea of what players are going through,
Right.
right? Like
Yeah.
like you know that, Kirk Cousins and them don't make it to the playoff or the Super Bowl,
Right.
right? So it almost makes it more interesting to watch it knowing that Marcus Mariota gets replaced, mid-season.
Right.
Like, it makes it interesting to like watch leading up to that, listen to the things people are telling them, that they're telling themselves, they're telling other people, and stuff like that. But man, that first episode is so good. Kirk Cousins is the coolest dude.
Right. He's he. We're talking about every man. He's every man. You know what I
I
mean?
like his big Sports Illustrated book of why.
Right. That he's
He's
reading to his son.
kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do they have the rules for quarterbacks not getting hit? Right. Tom Brady, and he goes, and I thank him every day. Oh my gosh, I'm like that's hilarious. But yeah, no, it's a good show so far. I like it. I like the idea of it, and I'm hoping that they'll continue it and pick like 3 different quarterbacks, so you'll learn more
Every
about
year,
those
yeah.
guys. Yeah, it'd be great. So anyway, let's hope that's a continuing thing, and we'll talk more about it later as we go because I want to watch the rest of it first, but haven't really had time to sit down and just binge it, which I'm going to do this weekend. So
Not when you guys spent 2 hours watching the Hungarian Grand Prix.
there's that, and then I'm going to watch
just
Spa
just
this
to watch
weekend.
Max go ahead and
Yeah, and I'm watching Women's World Cup right now. By the way, it's still 1-0 the Netherlands, 53rd minute. So we're in the second half a ways, and I don't know. United States needs something.
I'm curious to see what their passing numbers are like, because I have it on too.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're passing terribly.
Well, and
Like, it looks like every other pass getting intercepted.
yeah. Well, and then it's funny because the Netherlands head coach basically was, I don't know, he was not talking trash, but he was basically saying, hey, they're due to fall, and you know what I mean? I'm like, wow,
Well,
that's pretty.
it's group stage.
pretty
You can lose
strong.
one and still be okay.
It's true. It's pretty strong words to say that the best team in the world is.
He's just sour.
Oh,
that
sure.
They beat them in
They
the
beat him last year.
for
I
the
know.
title.
I know. I get it.
Grumpy Netherlands people, man.
Man, there's
Something you never. It's something you never. They have so much weed over there. They're supposed to be happy.
nothing worse than angry Dutch.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a fun little side note there.
Yeah.
Cassie the other day, she's talking about the Netherlands. She said, "When's the next game?" I said, "Oh, it's Wednesday." Oh, who are we playing? I said Holland,
Right.
and she goes, Holland. Wait, aren't we playing the Netherlands? I'm like, yeah. And she
Yes.
goes, those aren't the same places. I'm like, yeah, they are.
They are.
And she goes, no, she stands firm on that ground for a good 5 minutes before I'm like, just Google it. And I'm like, I will never forget those orange jerseys anywhere.
And I don't remember what TV show it was on, but somebody said something about did that exact same thing. They said Holland, and they go, I thought it was the Netherlands, and they're like, no, it's the same place. He goes, okay, well, who are the Dutch?
Same thing. The Dutch Hollanders from the Netherlands.
I'm like, yeah, nobody knows that's the Netherlands is the right name. That's what it is. Why we call it Holland, I don't know. It's from some other language,
They
but
probably call themselves Holland.
maybe.
Why we call them the Netherlands? I don't know.
Why are they the Dutch, not Netherlanders? I don't know. But
Not Netherlanders?
right? Because nobody wants to say Netherlanders.
The use of Holland refers to the entirety of the Netherlands and is also a quirk of English, though it's done by some non-English speakers. The word derives from Old Dutch Holland, which means woodland.
Stupid English people got to ruin everything.
Yeah.
Speaking English, it's ridiculous. All right, so let's talk. Do you want to talk about the sport, or do you want to just save that? We're at a minute.
We can stack that one.
Stack it.
Well, we'll do it next week.
Okay, let's put that out next week. We're going to talk about our favorite sports to watch on TV and or attend. What are the best sports to do that? We're going to talk about that next week because we're just running out of time. Do you have a minute? Did you want to talk about something? Do you want to rant about something?
I want to talk about why they're called the Dutch. No, I don't have a minute.
That'll take all of 10 seconds. We can just look that up on Wikipedia.
Let's go back to this Messi thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that pretty good too. Let's talk about the trivia question. Save Stone trivia question was and obviously because I'm looking at the list now and I think there's 2 guys on here that are still playing that they didn't highlight and make it make it right. But there were the question was there's 7 current NFL quarterbacks in the top 50 on all-time passing yards list. How many can you name? And what I've looked at from looking at this like 3 or 4 times now, there's 9. There's actually 9 current quarterbacks right on here. But how many of them can you name?
Pack of lies.
That's the question. There's 9 of them on here. How many can you name?
All right. So we're gonna go with my original first choice that I said when you brought this up. Joe Flacco.
Okay, Joe Flacco.
Is he one of them?
Yes, he's one of them.
Okay, cool. All right.
He's number 19, by the way.
Oh, not bad.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers is number 9.
Russell Wilson.
Yeah, Russell Wilson is number 21.
All right. And then now we get into some of my more questions. Well, no, sorry. Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan is number 7.
But here's the thing about Matt Ryan. He's not on an NFL roster.
That's the thing.
He's not retired.
Is he an active NFL player?
He's active in that he's not officially submitted his retirement paperwork.
And that's why I listed him, but why I'm saying that says so I'm changed it to 9 because Joe.
Wait, is Joe Flacco on an NFL roster?
No, that's the other. Joe Flacco and Matt Ryan are the 2 that I go. These guys aren't on actual current rosters, so I don't know how to phrase that. Also, Cam Newton is on this list.
Cam Newton's on that list?
Just to throw you in there, Cam Newton's on this list, and he is not inactive.
I did not have Cam Newton on my list.
But anyway, go ahead. But I didn't have. He wasn't in the 7 that was originally because they're not currently active. So keep going. Who else you got?
Okay. So I said Rodgers, Wilson. Those are 2 of them.
And Flacco. Yeah.
Stafford.
Matt Stafford.
A lot of yardage with
is number 11.
Yep. Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we just talked about him, I wrote Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins number 28.
He's been playing for a while too. That kind of tracks.
Kirk Cousins has been playing a lot less games than a lot of these players because he's been a backup in Washington for a while. I mean, so yeah, he's got a lot less games played than a lot of these guys, and is still number 28 all time. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's thrown for a lot.
Right. Who else you got?
Who I want to go with next?
Yeah.
Andy Dalton was a quarterback for. Like
Andy Dalton is number 24 on this list.
Hell yeah! I might get all of these.
There's only 2 more that I had listed. So if you got them.
Well, I know. I'm trying to think about long-term guys who are not only playing but have played significant time. Right. Derek Carr.
Derek Carr is number 32.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, nice. There's only 1 more, and it didn't occur to me at first, but yeah, it makes sense when you.
Can I get a hint? Something kind of subtle.
He's played for 2 different NFL teams.
Okay.
Not that that's helpful.
Was he cut or traded?
Traded.
Oh, okay. Played for 2 different NFL teams. Have either of these teams had decent success?
I mean, mediocre success. He hasn't won a Super Bowl.
Where do you play college?
Texas A&M. That'll probably give it away.
Tannehill.
Ryan Tannehill is number 41.
Really?
Yeah. He's played.
Ryan Tannehill's in there.
He's played 12 seasons. He's got 33,265 yards.
Ryan Tannehill. I would never have guessed that.
So the difference between, let's just say Andy Dalton at 24 and Steve McNair, who's number 50 on this list, is 7,000 yards. That's 24 through 50. And then it jumps up. And then there's a significant jump into those guys that have thrown for 40 or more, right? Warren Moon, Fran Tarkenton, Carson Palmer, Kerry Collins. These are guys. Joe Montana's 22 on this list, for example. Right. And then you get past the 40 guys to the 50 guys, right? Elway, Stafford, Eli Manning, Aaron Rodgers.
Stafford has 50,000?
52,082 yards. Oh, that's all he did in Detroit was throw because he couldn't run the football.
It's true. They sucked about in every other way. They just threw the ball.
Yeah. He's got 300 touchdown passes. Matthew Stafford does. 333 to be exact. And then you have this, and then Aaron Rodgers is at 59,000, and then you have this jump to the 60s, right? And it's Matt Ryan has thrown for 62,792 yards. It's 16 years. I mean, it's a long time. But he threw the ball a lot. Ben Roethlisberger. Yep. And then you jump to the 70s, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, and the 80s, which is Drew Brees and Tom Brady. But yeah. So if, and I just went off this, if Justin Herbert continues to throw for the amount of yards he throws for per season right now for the next 15 or 16 seasons, he will be in the top 5 all-time passing.
Mm.
Yeah. If he only plays 15 or 16. If he plays 28 years like Tom Brady or however long it was, 23, he might pass him. You never know. So, but yeah, Tom Brady's numbers are staggering. Drew Brees' numbers, right? And he played 20 seasons, not 23, are just as good. Let's be honest. Drew Brees played in 48 less games than Tom Brady. That's 3 full seasons less than Tom Brady. And he's got 9,000 yards less.
3,000 yards a season is considered underwhelming from a passing standpoint. Like if you're looking at
for
passers.
top guys, right?
Yeah, like if Ryan Tannehill threw for 3,000 yards this year, you'd be like, that's pretty good, man.
And 70 touchdowns less. So if Drew Brees had played another 3 years and averaged 25 touchdowns a year, he would have the all-time touchdown record. Drew Brees was every bit as good as Tom Brady on teams that weren't as good.
All right, I got you with a. I'm gonna hit you with the reverse Uno here.
All right, go. The reverse Uno. Is that what you said?
Yeah, there's the reverse card. Active quarterbacks in the top 50 of playoff passing yards.
Ooh, so Tom Brady's got to be number 1, right? But he's not active. Okay, active quarterback. Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers is number 4.
Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson's 15.
Kirk Cousins.
Kirky is not.
Oh, come on. They've made enough playoff games. He's got to be on there.
Kirky's not on the list.
Oh, playoff yards. So Patrick Mahomes.
Number 10.
Because he played in a lot of playoff games.
4,084 already. He's don't get me wrong. He's still real. So, but like with the other thing, there's a big jump. So 10 through 3 are separated by 1,900 yards, which is a lot, but that's Roethlisberger through Mahomes.
Right.
And then Roethlisberger to Manning is 2,000 yards, and then Manning to Brady is 5,000 yards. So it's big jumps.
There are big jumps for sure.
All right. What else you got?
Current NFL quarterbacks that have playoff yards.
And one of them is also one of those qualifiers.
Okay.
Well, technically 2 of them are those qualifiers, actually.
So I feel like I'm looking at a list of people that have played. Now I'm trying to figure out who's played in the most playoff games, right? Of these guys. Wow. Okay. So if I was going to throw out a name, and I am, I might throw out Lamar Jackson.
Negative.
Yeah. That was Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. He's number 27.
Yeah, because he's been in a few playoff games. Gosh, after that, I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe Dak Prescott's on that list. I don't know.
Dak Prescott is not on that list.
Yeah.
So there's 4 people you haven't named. 3 of them are on the last list.
Oh,
I remember I said 2 of them were qualifiers.
Oh, the ones we talked about, Matt Ryan? No.
Yeah. Matt Ryan and
Joe Flacco.
And Joe Flacco. That's
right.
Joe Flacco's 18th. Matt Ryan's 24th, which leaves one other person who has only been playing. This is for 2 seasons.
What? And he's on the list?
It might be 3. 2020 to 2020 through 2022. So it might be 3 seasons.
And he's on the list?
He's on the list. And he's ahead of Cam Newton at 40 and behind Mark Brunell at 30. He was at 38.
Really?
Yeah.
And he's only been around.
Drafted in 2020.
Really?
Come on, we've talked about him we've talked about him twice today.
Oh, good Lord. I don't know this answer. I mean, I feel like I should know this answer, and I don't really know this answer because who else has been in the playoffs enough to throw? I mean, it's not Matt Stafford, right? Did we talk about Matt Stafford? Did we already say that?
Oh, wait, I thought you said Matt Stafford earlier. My bad. No, yeah, Matt Stafford's on here. That's not who I was referring to.
That's not
Yeah, Matt Stafford's at 33. That's not who I'm referring to.
It's not Joe Burrow already.
It is Joe Burrow.
Really?
Joe Burrow at 39, 1826. He's sitting 5 yards behind Mark Brunell and 5 yards ahead of Cam Newton.
I guess he's had two playoff runs already, right?
2 deep playoff runs, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's enough. And by the way, so just so we're giving you an update, the United States has tied the game with the Netherlands. We're in the 65th minute, 1-1.
I think I want to get a Lindsey Horn jersey.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, she's a Colorado person. She comes to our stadium all the time.
Does she? Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I mean, when she's not in Australia playing soccer.
So, right, because that's a real thing.
First world
So
problems.
yeah, so we'll hang on to the best sports to watch for next week. We'll cover that next week. But you got anything else you want to talk about? Anything last minute stuff?
No, go Team USA.
Go Team USA. Hopefully they're going to win. Currently, right now, they'd be leading the group if it ends in a 1-1 tie. They'll be leading the group, but I don't think they're going to have any problem advancing, even if they lose this game, which I don't think they will. But um, if this ends in a draw and they win the next one, they'll still have 7 points. They'll move through pretty easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the best team in the world, and for a reason. I mean, they have the best talent, and for a while there, I was thinking they were going to have issues. They couldn't rebuild because they had lost some crazy good players. They're still dang good.
I mean, they still have Alex Morgan
Yeah.
and Megan Rapinoe
Yeah, they've
and
got some.
Rosie Lavelle, but
Yeah,
they did lose.
Roosevelt.
Who was the? Oh my gosh, I can't think of it.
All
There
right.
was a player for their team that they lost because she started having children and started a family and stuff like that.
Oh.
But that was the loss I was worried about. Sydney something.
Oh
Nah.
yeah. I can't. No, I'm not thinking of it either. Too.
Yeah.
Um,
Soccer player
yeah.
Sydney LaRue.
Larue. Yep.
Sydney LaRue.
Yep.
She retired. Well, not
Yeah.
retired, but she didn't come back, and I was like, man, that's a huge loss.
Right.
But it didn't seem to matter much none.
No. And she's here's
Oh,
interesting thing. She's 33 years old. I
are you
I didn't think she
are
was
you
that old.
are you streaming this game?
I am watching it right now. Yeah. She's offside.
Oh,
She's
she's
offside.
offside.
Yeah, it would have been.
I don't know. Let's go to VAR, Blue.
No, she's offside.
Oh yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah, pretty clear by a half a step at least. So yeah,
Close.
that was Alex Morgan. She almost had one. Scoreless
See,
in 5 career matches versus the
anytime I think about like getting a U.S. Women's National Team jersey, because I have a Rapinoe jersey in my closet that I was given when I
Yeah.
worked at Nike, but I keep thinking if I'm going to buy one, like Alex Morgan, I think is the one you got to buy. I would have gotten Hope Solo, but then she went home.
She got crazy a little bit. Huh?
Yeah, things went wild for her, but
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Alex
Yeah.
Morgan jersey would be pretty dope.
Yeah,
But any hoozles.
you need an Ertz jersey,
Julia Ertz, nice.
right? So yeah. Anyway, all right. So that's gonna do it for us for today. Again, we're on YouTube every week. We're on Twitter at Lamm Sports. We're on Facebook under the Best Lamm Sports Show. You can send us an email lammsports@gmail.com. Come to the website lammsports.com. Trivia questions on there, and there's a button. You mean I don't show you the answer? See, there's a button. You just read the trivia question, come up with your answer, hit the button. It will show you the answer. It will take you to a page that actually has the answer. But you can actually watch all of the shows. Every recorded show I put on there, it has the last 30 something, which is almost a full year. So if you want to watch something, great. If you want to listen to us talk about McDonald's hot coffee from last week, more than welcome to. We talk about some stuff. There's a hot pocket discussion at one point in time. I don't know. And then of course, we got heated about Lionel Messi and whether the contract is.
We never got to me talking about cars that didn't have cup holders.
No, and we'll hang on to that one.
Yeah, we'll keep.
We'll
that
do a
stacked.
follow-up. Yeah. We should have a whole follow-up episode of things that we didn't quite get to, and we need to talk about. We need to finish.
That means we have
for
to
closure.
go back and listen.
Yeah,
to many weeks in advance.
For closure, just because you got to have that closure and say, oh yeah, we talked about it, we finished this. And there aren't that many though. I mean, there are some, but there aren't that many, right? Okay. Anyway, we'll talk about it.
I mean, I've got a list of 10.
Of all the car makes and models that are out there.
I'm talking about 10 of the most popular, like sales-wise car models. Here's what I'll say: most of them are not domestic.
And that makes sense, right?
But
because only in America
that doesn't mean that they're supercars.
In America is the only reason you put your big gulp in the cup holder, right? They don't do that in Italy.
You need those expandable cup holder things,
right?
The ones that like
this is a big, yeah. Can this hold like 64 ounces? Is this gonna hold a gallon? Because I need that. Well,
have you seen this trend of the girls at the Stanley cups? Like, so basically it's a water bottle type thing, like that same kind of like double rolled aluminum outside, but it shrinks at the bottom so it can fit in your cup holder, but it is like a 64 ounce water holder. It's like a whole, and it comes with a handle. I'll send you a link to it. It's crazy.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, we will. We will see everybody next week. We want to thank ESPN, Fox Sports, NBC Sports. You know what would be helpful right here?
What's that?
Outro music.
Ah.
We have a number of selections of outro music, so let's throw this one on there. I want to thank ESPN, Fox Sports, NBC Sports, ABC Sports, CBS Sports, the NBA, NFL, NCAA, PGA, LAV Golf, even though we didn't talk about them, Formula One, Netflix, and of course our sponsors, The Range in Yakima, Boss Kitty Yarn, Stave and Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. We're going to talk about all this stuff next week. We'll have all kinds of things. It's always exciting. It's been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media, LLC. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.